was a rumble in the jungle. Once I heard Dad was outside again counting birds, and Mama plugged in a nightlight, and I saw the queen of the world.
Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. I am your host, Liz.
I'm
your other host, Natalie. And tonight we have a very special guest on. Her name is Brie. She's a therapist here in St. Louis. I actually met her through my husband, Sam. And we can go ahead and say hello to Brie. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. It's awesome to see your face, and I can't wait to hear about everything. So if you want to go ahead and get started and tell us a little bit about yourself and your son, we can start from there.
Yeah, my name is Brie, and like you said, I'm a therapist here in St. Louis. And I primarily work with people who have experienced the death of someone significant in their life. So I work with kids, teens, adults, young adults, older adults, families, couples. And I also work for a national nonprofit called Experience Camps. And we host camps through the month of August for kiddos who have experienced the death of a sibling, parent, or primary caregiver. So all the things I do embrace death and dying and bereavement and the grieving process, which is a little different from birth, right? Like, I always say that there are two processes in life, or two processes in life that we all experience, and that's birth and that's death. And I'm very well versed in that final process, and still getting used to this initial process. I mean, outside of myself being born, which I don't really remember, but I have a 10-month-old son. His name is Dax. He just turned 10 months old yesterday, and he is a special little guy. Like, he's going to do some amazing things in life, and I am so grateful and so thankful to be his mom and to get, to watch him grow up and to help be his model, I guess.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope that's a lot of pressure, right? But to help him along the way as he grows. And this by far has been the most challenging role that I have ever had in my life. I've always been an aunt. So my cousins all have kiddos. My siblings have kids. All the people around me have kids. And I've just been Aunt B or Aunt B to a lot of children, a lot of kids. And that role comes very easily to me, being the aunt, the fun person, where the kiddos come and they stay, or they do this or they do that. And then you sugar them up and you get to take them home. Now, the new role.
No sugar.
You don't want people to sugar up your kids and send them home, because that's not okay. So yeah, I'm growing into this role of motherhood, and it has been challenging and exciting and all the things in between.
Why do I already feel like I'm going to cry on this one? I don't know why, but just the way that you said the process of the ending process and the beginning process, and whew, I'm just already feeling it. It's just going to happen.
We also have the hormones.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen either way, though, yes. With or without them. So, Brie, if we want to go ahead and head into how you found out you were pregnant and what that was like.
My goodness. I haven't got to share this story with a lot of people, but I think, people close to me know. Becoming a mother was never in my life plan. It was just never in my life plan. And I actually thought that I was going through pre-menopause. Menopause is happening. My doctor and I had a lot of conversations prior to this journey about, different symptoms that I was having and all of these things that were going on with my body. And I had December, December 2020 was when I conceived, and, started feeling kind of strange, but didn't know what was going on. Had a light period, had another light period in January. So I'm like, oh, this is happening. Like, I'm going through menopause. Okay, this is what we're moving forward. Prior to that, like thinking, this isn't like having a baby, being pregnant isn't a part of my life plan. I think people always, I'll use I statements. I always thought, I have time. I want to go do this. I want to do this, and I want to get this degree, and I want to learn more about this. And, I want to travel, and I want to do all of these things before I start a family. And I was getting older and older and older. And then, of course, backtrack, all these symptoms started happening. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going through menopause. And then, I had the 2 months, or actually 3 months in a row of like spotty periods, and was just like, okay, it's happening. So I called my doctor. She called me, told me to come in. And I'm thinking that I'm there to like get this confirmation. So I get there and they're like, you're here for your confirmation appointment. And I'm like, yeah, confirmation of menopause. I should be an idiot. I was like, yeah. So I get back to the room, and they have you pee in the cup, and then you go into your room. And then the nurse comes back in, and she's like, we're going to move you to a different room. And I was like, okay, thinking nothing of it, whatever, that's fine. And the first room was very plain, just like a regular old ordinary exam room that you go into. And this next room had like a sonogram, like all of these things that wouldn't be in a regular room. And I'm just like, what the hell did they move me in here for? What are we doing today? They're like, okay, whatever, my doctor's going to come in. Maybe they needed that room for someone else, whatever. My doctor comes in and she's like, okay, we're going to just confirm and to make sure that all that, she said, we're going to confirm. And I was like, okay. And so, she gets out this wand and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? Brie, this is your confirmation appointment. And I'm like, you all keep saying confirmation to me, but I'm not sure I'm understanding what it is that we're trying to confirm. Like, we talked over the phone, we talked about menopause, like we talked about all of these things. And I feel like that's not what you're referring to today. And it clearly was not what she was referring to. And my pee stick came back positive. And she was like, your urine is positive. And I'm like, positive for what? Like I carry protein. All these different things. Longer story short, she finally gets me to a point of where I'm like, oh, you think I'm pregnant, which was laughable to me because of course I'm not pregnant. Like, that's not what's happening. I'm not pregnant. And lo and behold, I was. And, she showed me she said, it looks like a little gummy bear. And I just was so shocked. And I was just dumbfounded because why do I not connect confirmation appointment with everything that's going to happen next? But I was in a state of utter disbelief, wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And I just started bawling, hysterically, in the office. And, she was patting my back. It's going to be okay. And I was just as a grief therapist, you don't tell people that things are going to be okay because you don't know if things are going to be okay. And she kept telling me that it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And I was just like, how do you know that? I remember asking her, how do you know that things are going to be okay? And how can you be so certain that things are going to be fine? And, we sit there for a little while and we chat, and I pull myself together to walk out of the office and, still crying, but not sobbing anymore. And I get out to my car and I call my partner, and I FaceTimed him. I didn't even call. And I just broke down into tears again. His response was, are you okay? did someone die? What's happening? What's wrong? What's going on? And I kind of fumbled through the words, and he was really excited. And then I got really upset because he was excited and I was not excited. And so like, it didn't match, right? Like I'm trying to say,
energy or
vibes
didn't match. Our vibe didn't match. Our response, our responses didn't match. So I was really frustrated.
Yeah.
But in that, he, wanted to make sure that I was okay, and wanted to make sure, like he's like, I am really excited, and you're not really excited, and that's not like you. So I pulled myself together, and probably spent like the next, that was is that February? I think that's February. And then I had another doctor's appointment. So that was almost 8 weeks at that point. So 4 weeks later, I went in for the 12-week checkup. And so for 4 weeks, like I just operated actually throughout my pregnancy not as if I were not pregnant, but as like I didn't connect mentally, didn't connect to the emotions or to everything physically that was happening to my body. So like I just compartmentalized everything. I knew that I was carrying, I knew that there was something there. And I knew that I needed to eat right, which, I already do and already did. But I wasn't excited, and I wasn't ready to tell people, and I didn't know how to explain. So there was a lot of, I did a lot of like covering myself and hiding, because I started to show very quickly, like, 8 weeks, even at 8 weeks, my body had already started to change. By 12 weeks, my belly button had already popped out. I carried a pretty big kid. But my body was already responding and changing to everything that was happening on the inside. And so, like I said, like physically, you could see the changes, but mentally and emotionally, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Wasn't there. And then, of course, was down on myself and upset with myself because, like, I've heard other people talk about how they couldn't wait to get pregnant or how excited they were to start a family, and everything that I was feeling and every way, and in every way that I presented was the exact opposite of that. So then it's what's wrong with me. Because I am feeling this way. Because this is my response. Am I not normal? Am I a horrible person? Just like all these different questions and all these different things going through my mind. Because it felt so different than everyone else. Like people are excited because all of these things are happening and they can't wait to share. And I'm just like, I can share until I have to share.
Yeah.
And I remember someone asking me, if they could definitely tell that there was a change and there was something going on, but they couldn't put their finger on it. And I finally confided in them. And they asked me this question that I thought was far-fetched. But they asked me, I don't remember if they said, do you plan on keeping it? Or if they said, maybe they said, have you thought about other options? And I remember in that moment of being like, wow, did you just act like you just asked me that? Like, I'm telling you that I'm not connecting. And maybe that was like the first response. Maybe that was the first thing that they thought or the first thing that came to them. And I know that it was out of pure support. It was weird. Like, it was weird to say to this person, like, that thought never crossed my mind. I haven't thought about other options. And yeah, like I'm definitely pro-choice. And for me, just as it was a thought that never crossed my mind, like never, ever, ever crossed my mind. And for someone to assume that that should just be the solution really kind of took me for a loop.
Mm-hmm.
It hit hard, like in in my gut. Very, it's a very raw response of what I gave them back. But basically, like, I can't believe that you would ask me that.
Yeah.
When really I'm just asking you to listen to me vent. Like, I just need you to be in this space with me. I don't need for you to try to figure out a solution for me, or to push your beliefs or whatever onto me. Yeah, that was a lot right there. Sorry.
No. No. I like feel like I could feel the same exact way that you just said. Like, I'm pro-choice, but like in that moment of being asked that, being like, what? Like, what? There's no question.
I was like, wait, what? There's no question at all. And I don't even know if people understand that, but I'm glad that you do, because like, I'm pro-choice. Like, you have a right and a choice to do whatever it is that you feel like you need to do for your body.
Yeah.
But for me, like, that is not something that I would do. It's not something that I would do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get that, like, sometimes it's circumstantial or it's situational. And I get that, where having an abortion would be something that's on the table, like for medical reasons, or if someone was raped, or, you know, if it's incest or different things like that. Like, I get all of that, but it just like, it pulled it, and I'm still thinking about it. So it definitely had a huge impact on me. You know, those things that people say to you throughout your pregnancy or even before, like, when are you going to have a baby? Or how come you're not pregnant yet? It's just like, can you get out of my uterus, please?
Right. That's the whole point of pro-choice, is like, it's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
I love that. Get out of my uterus.
Get out of there. It's not for you to occupy.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I found out. Yeah, and I just started, like, just transitioned into a new position at work. And I was still at my school, so I was actually working 2 full-time positions. Still had my private practice that was more than part-time. Still, like, supervising students and things like that at the local university. So, like, I had only planned to do all of this for an overlap of 6 months. So, like, from January through the end of June. And I was like, anybody can do anything for 6 months, right? Like, it's 6 months. It's half a year. I can do it. It's going to be fine. And then I found out that I was pregnant, and that 6 months, was a really long time. It was such a long time. And, you know, your body's changing, and you're exhausted, and you're hungry, and all of these things are happening. And I just had to take it one day at a time. Like, you know, I was planning to go on sabbatical, actually after June. So I'm planning to go on sabbatical. So I'm making sure that I'm making arrangements at work and doing all the things that I should be doing. And it ended up that I was planning for maternity leave. So not really a sabbatical.
Not at all.
Leave nonetheless.
Just the name changed.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So how did your pregnancy progress? Like, when you really started showing, and, you know,
Yeah.
did your mental state change at all, or like?
Not really.
Yeah.
I still, like, I just didn't feel like I was emotionally connected. but again, like seeing the belly grow. My kiddo just woke up. Can you hear him?
I thought that was your cat for a second.
I don't have any pets. But seeing, like my body was changing and buying buying clothes that fit, that accommodate my body and the changes. And, it's May and I'm wearing big cardigans at the school. And I knew that people knew, but because I hadn't said anything, I was still operating as if no one knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cutest thing. One of my first graders, we were leaving my office and we were walking back to class and they were in front of me and we're going to make a right around the corner. Instead of going right, they turn around and look straight at me and their nose is right at my belly button level, right? So your face is in my belly right at this point. They go, can I tell you something? And I said, sure. Tell me anything. I'm the counselor. Like you can tell me that the sky is yellow right now and we can have a conversation about that. And they say, it looks like there's a baby in your belly.
Oh my God.
And I just whisper back, can I tell you something? And they were like, yes. Like they're giggling. And I'm like, okay. And I go, that's because there is a baby in my belly. And that was like the first time that I said it out loud. Like I had closed conversations. Probably didn't say the words I'm pregnant. Probably said something like, there's something living in there. For a long time. Dax was my womb mate.
That's so cute.
Womb mate. So, but that was the first time that I like said it out loud. And that was like at the end of the school year, like probably April, May. And so after that, it just became a little easier and easier to talk about. I still just like, yep, there's something here. There's something happening. I know that now my womb mate is, like, people at work would be like, has the womb mate upgraded to a new name yet? And I'm like, nope, not yet. So I also we didn't find out the sex until the baby was born. So I had no idea what, I just knew there was a baby in there. People would ask, what do you want to have? Girl or boy? Just want a healthy baby. But I don't really think that I like connected completely until like he was on my chest. Yeah.
And now he's your roommate.
He went from womb to room. He sure did. He definitely did. He definitely did. A lot of people were excited. My family, my partner's family, his family was very excited. My family was excited. All of our friends, our siblings, coworkers, and like sometimes that excitement, I was like, oh, this is exciting. And then I'd be like, no, this isn't exciting at all. This isn't exciting. But I have a ton of support and a lot of people that care about me and care about us. They love Dax so much, even before he was here. And so it took all of that to get me to this space that I'm in now. But it took me a long time. Like I said, I compartmentalized. So it's like, I'm not that I was saying I am pregnant. It's just like, I'm growing this baby. But I have all these things that I have to do. Like, just for me, it's not in my plan. And this is the plan and I need to go through with this plan. And so, at some point I had to listen to my body. It's not easy to grow a kiddo. And, for me, like, air quotes, I feel like I had a pretty easy pregnancy. There was no morning sickness, other than showing really early and being an older first-time parent. Those were the only things. Like, I had this metal taste in my mouth anytime I would eat any food. And so there were a lot of things that I couldn't eat. Actually, most things I couldn't eat because of that taste. But outside of that, like, I didn't have all the symptoms, and I didn't have all of the things that a lot of other people experience or talked about experiencing. So I was, they didn't say I was high risk because of my age, but I was high risk because of my age. But things were fine. Once I got towards the end, so like I said, all of my camps are in August, and when my first camp came around, I was already 30. I think I was 34 weeks or 35 weeks. So I went to Georgia to my first camp. Everything was fine. I had to get my blood pressure taken 2 times a day, so morning and night. So the camp nurse would do that for me. Even before I went, I was doing stress tests 2 times a week because they just want to make sure everything's fine. Because of my age, because I'm African American female. There was one more thing. I can't remember what it is, but I was at higher risk for preeclampsia, and so they just wanted to make sure that everything was fine. So I was visiting the doctor 3 times a week.
Wow.
at the end, like 34 weeks and up, I was there 3 times a week. So I do stress tests twice and then meet with my doctor. So I was a household name in the doctor's office.
I was gonna say, wow.
I was there a lot. But everything was fine. The baby was huge since the beginning. And so they were just worried that maybe the baby wouldn't have enough room. And we talked about C-section and what that could look like. We talked about what a natural birth will look like. We talked about all these different things so that if, I get there and things start to escalate and the baby's not okay, or if I'm not okay, the C-section may happen or might have to occur. So we had all those conversations. I went to a camp the first week. They would not allow me to go to camp the second week. My doctor said, no more traveling. So I didn't get to go to California or my other camps that summer. So it was really just like home, relaxing through the end of my pregnancy. That's and good. The baby and I got to know each other very well in those weeks. Because then I was just like there, right? Not that I wasn't there before, but I was doing all of these other things. And I really just had some time to like just connect. And I think we needed that.
Yeah, just time to slow down, and it's like it's right there. You can't hide it anymore.
No, you have the waddle, and it's comfortable to sit. Uncomfortable to sit, uncomfortable to stand, uncomfortable to sleep. Like everything annoys you.
Yeah. Pain.
You're just miserable. Pain. Like I just sit there and I'm like, am I finished? I don't know. I'll just sit here for 5 more minutes.
Rock back and forth. Lean forward. I'm doing that, and I'm like 12 weeks, and I'm doing that already. I'm like, am I done? I'm just gonna keep rocking.
Yeah, I lived in dresses because it's like, I can't even deal with pants right now. Like I don't even. That doesn't even make sense to me.
You need some air up there.
Just like hold that dress out a little bit.
I don't know how like people can have babies in September because you're like full term pregnant all summer.
All summer.
Ooh.
It was hot. And it's St. Louis, and it's miserable here in the summertime. And it's humid, and I love the heat, and I love being outside, and I hated everything about outside last summer.
I hear ya. It's gross.
It's gross. And it's just like sweat is everywhere.
Yeah.
There was like one point where the place that I was living, I don't know, we were having some power outages, and they were doing the Olympic trials next door. And so like the power was out in our building, so no AC. I had nothing. But the generators were working next door at the dome. So I was like, what if I just go stand in the hallway? But then I had to walk over there, and I was like, I don't even want to walk over there.
Oh my God. I would have like gone and bought like, yeah. I would have gone and bought like 4 box fans just to like one at each corner.
It was ridiculous.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah. This summer is hard, and I'm not even pregnant. Like,
I know,
it's so
right?
hot already.
So
Gross.
Good old St. Louis. Come visit anybody. Just bask in our heat.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to come to Missouri anymore.
So if you want, we can go ahead and get into the birth story.
the birth story. You listen to all these people tell you all the things. So I remember telling one of my coworkers, the other counselor in our building, the other therapist in our building, I don't know how this baby's going to get from here to here. Like, I don't want to watch any videos. I don't want to hear the stories. I just don't know. Like, I know how it's going to happen, right? I don't know how it's going to happen. And so because the baby was big and I was so miserable and so hot, I was induced at 39 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I could have waited, but I opted to get induced, and I was in labor for 30 hours. The baby was not ready to come. Should have left the baby alone, but I didn't leave the baby alone. The baby was just not ready to come. So I was in the hospital on a Thursday at 10 p.m. And, there throughout the night, through the entire day on Friday, throughout Friday night. And of course, then contractions start to kick in. Things are moving very, 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 very slowly. At some point, I don't remember if this was late Friday night or sometime Thursday during the day, opted to get an epidural. And I had some issues with the person that gave me the epidural. One of the things that I was adamant about, like I did all like the birthing classes and all those things, thinking it's gonna help me connect, and this is gonna happen, and I'm gonna be like, yay, like everybody else. That still wasn't, but anyway, I did. I mean, I've learned lots of great things. But one of the things that I've always been adamant about is, as an African American female, knowing the numbers, right? Knowing the numbers for birth rates. And I think I got corrected yesterday in the car. I was talking to someone and they said, no, it's 3 times. So as an African American female, I'm 3 times more likely to die in childbirth than a Caucasian female or Caucasian woman. And there are all these stats and all these things. And I did a lot of reading and, talked to my doctor about all of this, talked to the doctors at the hospital. Even on the tour of the hospital, I asked a question, and the person that was giving me the tour just kind of glossed over it and said something like, well, we do a lot of births here, and I think you'll be fine. And I was just like, you didn't validate anything. Like, you didn't even say, oh, I hear you, or I hear your concern. Like, none of those things. Yeah. And I also have to remember that I'm a therapist, right? And so the way that I respond is probably not the way a lot of people respond in the moment. Like, I'm giving a tour, this is my job. Yes, I want to reassure you that things are going to be fine and that you'll be okay. But the response that I got didn't help me feel reassured or okay, or even validated or heard. And so I was getting an epidural, and the person that came in to talk to me about it was a person that looks like me, and I felt safe, I felt comfortable. And then the person that came back in didn't look like me, and she didn't hear a thing that I said. So she's like, doing the procedure, you have to sit still and don't move and all these things. So my partner is in front of me and holding my hands, and I can feel the needle go in, and she's saying, this is what you should be feeling, this is what should be happening. And what I was feeling and what was happening was not what she was telling me that I should feel or should be happening. I had this sharp pain in my leg, like somebody was stabbing me in my right leg.
Oh my God.
And it was to the point of where I was bawling. And this was COVID, so I had on a mask. My mask was like full of snot and tears and grossness. And I'm like, I don't think that you hear what I'm saying. Like, and I can't move. So it's like, I can't turn around to like make you make eye contact with me. But I didn't, it was like, I feel like that was the worst part of everything. And I had stayed in the hospital for extra days because I lost the feeling in my right leg. Like everything else came back. Right leg was still like, it's like I didn't have feeling there.
Oh my God.
And so, I'm telling her there's this sharp pain, there's this sharp pain, there's this sharp pain. And she's saying, no, that's not what you should be feeling. I'm like, but I'm telling you, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
No, that's not what you should be feeling. It should feel more like a very procedural, right? Like this, I do this every day, multiple times a day. You're fine. This is what should be happening. And I'm telling you, this is not what's happening. Anyway, I asked for someone else to come and finish the procedure. Somebody else comes and they help assist. We get past that, and still there's nothing happening. I'm like pushing this medicine button every time I can, because after those contractions, like when they started to get really close together, I was like, I don't want to feel another one of those if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So then when we got to the part of like pushing, like. I'm like, could you wheel the monitor over here so I can see? And I should start to push because I don't feel a thing at this point. Don't feel anything. So, gosh, I felt like I delivered at Barnes. And Barnes being a teaching hospital, there were so many people in my room all the time. So, like the doctor has 4 or 5 people with them, and the nurses have 4 or 5 people with them. And then there are interns that are in and out, and the aides, like they have people with them. And so like at one point I was like, is this a spectator event? Like what is happening in this room? There are so many people in here. And I'm a person that just I need quiet and I need calm. And I was like, I just need to be quiet and I need for it to be calm. I need to be able to hear the beeps on the machine. If you need to talk to each other, if you could kindly do that outside of this room, that would be great. But I need for this space to be calm and peaceful because I have to be calm and peaceful. Like my body is doing things that I don't understand right now. And I need to be as calm as possible so that my muscles are relaxed, so that I can do what I'm supposed to do and get this baby here safely as possible.
Yeah.
And it just, the carts and the noises and the and the mask and, so I can't see your name tags because they're turned over and I don't know who's in and out. And it just felt so chaotic. And because I had been in labor for so long, then, of course, it was like, ooh, we're going to have to take this baby via C-section. And I had a really long talk with my doctor of like, I hear what you're saying. And if the baby is safe and if I'm safe, that's not the route that we're going to take. We're going to continue to go this way. And when you tell me that the baby is at risk or that I'm at risk, then I will definitely listen. I will do whatever it is you need for me to do to get the baby here safely. But they kept talking about C-section, C-section, C-section. But I'm watching the baby's heart rate. It's stable. It's fine. I'm watching my heart rate. I'm stable. I'm fine. And they're like, wow, you are really calm. I'm like, I just need it to be quiet. Just like lean into the sidelines. It's like, just shh. Lean into it. And, my doctor came in a couple of times and left and then I guess switched shifts with someone else at the practice. And she came in a couple of times to check in on me. And I pushed. So this was like Saturday. He was born Saturday. So for late Friday, early Saturday morning, maybe 1 1 a.m., something like that. They were like, okay, we're going to have you start pushing. And, I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and nothing was happening. And I was uncomfortable and miserable. And one of the doctors came in and said, let's just let her rest. Let's go out. Let's call her doctor, do whatever they need to do. And then they came back in at like, I don't know, 7, maybe 6:45, 7 o'clock a.m. And this was like, I eat constantly. And so I hadn't had food since like 4 p.m. on Thursday.
Oh my
and
God.
I'm starving, and I don't want your water anymore, and I don't want your ice chips. I just need I need something to happen because I'm starving. So they came in like 6:45, 7 o'clock, and said, we're gonna try something different. We're going to like just listen to your body, and we're gonna figure out how. The first time they had me pushing at like 1 a.m., they had me in all these positions, and I was like, I don't know what we're trying to do here, but my body doesn't move in those ways, and you're frustrating me. I can't feel my bottom half, so I don't even know if I'm moving it or not. So when they came back in, they were finally listen. We're just gonna go with whatever feels comfortable for you. And this time I pushed maybe 5 or 6 times, and the baby crowned. And I just remember them saying, "Stop!" I was like, "What the heck? We're in a rhythm now." What do you mean, stop? You have to call your doctor. We have to do all these things. And I was like, I don't understand the chaos. Like, the point is to push the baby out, right? The baby's coming out, and now you want me to keep it in? Like, I just don't get it. They did whatever they needed to do, pull the baby out. I had my eyes closed because I remember someone saying, "Brie, you have to look." And I was like, oh. And there's this like baby, like my hands are on this baby. They're handing me a baby, and they're like, for gender for sex on the dry erase board, it has a question mark and surprise, so that people that will walk in the room would be like, "Oh, it's a boy," or "Oh, you're having a girl." Mm-hmm. And they were like, "What did you have?" And I was like, "I had a baby." No. And I was like, "Oh." Just wasn't with it during this process at all. But a baby boy, and I remember them like when he came out, he was screaming. And we locked eyes as he was here in front of me, and I like fell in love, like pure love, pure bliss. And he like stopped crying, put him on my chest, and it was just like, wow. And then of course the 90 people that were in the room with me, seriously, there were like 18 people in the room with me. Great job, Mom, and patting me on my back and all of the stuff, and doing all the things that they need to do. It was. Yeah, he was here. He arrived, and then I got to eat real food. No, I'm joking.
No, something we're celebrating.
That's important.
We had a really good moment. We had a great, it was a phenomenal first moment of just like our eyes locking, and it felt like that moment in time kind of froze, and then it was just like, okay, he's here, he's on my chest. And it's a boy. It's amazing.
So sweet.
That's really sweet.
See?
Yeah.
I know.
Tears.
Let me wipe the tears from my eyes.
That is so sweet. Like this person.
It was perfect. Like, it was nothing that I'd ever read about, and it was like short of amazing. Like, it was a really sweet and beautiful moment.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah, and I have a picture. So some doctor was like snapping all these pictures, and then she was like, "I'm gonna text them to you." And I was like, "Okay," and she did. It's
That's amazing.
Let me get your number. That's awesome. I did want to ask, did anyone, like any doctors, nurses, aides, did anyone ever get your consent on having the people in the room? Like, don't they have to ask you first?
They probably did. I know my nurse had a couple of nurses that were shadowing her, and I was like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember about the doctors. Like, I'm assuming that they, like, I know each time that somebody would come in, they say, oh, I'm this person, and this is this person. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But there's nothing that I signed, so maybe it was just verbal consent, and I don't remember. Have no idea.
Maybe it's just if you're at Barnes,
maybe it's like you're at a teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. You better be okay with it.
You already know what the deal is.
Maybe.
So, this is what we do over here.
Oh man. So I don't know, at Barnes, like did you get transferred to another room? When did you were you able to walk?
At Barnes, now they have the women, infant, and children's wing. And so it's 2 floors, floors 5 and 6, I believe. So floor 5 is like, that is delivery, delivery rooms. And then 6 is the postpartum rooms, or is it called postpartum?
Yeah. Like mom, baby.
Mom, baby rooms. So they just moved me upstairs. They kept me I stayed in my same bed. And then they moved us upstairs to a bigger room.
Mm-hmm. So once the epidural wore off, were you able to get up and go to the bathroom? How were you feeling?
With assistance. So my right leg, remember, was still... excuse me. I didn't have the feeling back in my right leg, so I had to call a nurse for assistance, or my partner would help me back and forth to and from the bathroom, or so during COVID, we could only have 2 people there at the time. And so somebody would assist me to back and forth. The nurse didn't want me to get up unless she was close. So that, I shouldn't say she, unless they were close, because I had lots of different nurses that were in and out. I just had to make sure that I was using my little buzzer to call them. I didn't want the baby out of the room. You hear all these horror stories and all the things, and even though everything that they were doing was right next door, I just didn't want them to take him next door to do it. So, he left to get circumcision, and his dad went, and he left to get hearing tests, and his dad went. They did the bath, his first bath in the room, and even when he went out for circumcision and went out for hearing tests, I stood at the door, when is he coming back? Are you finished with my baby? Is that my baby? No.
So sweet.
Yeah, so I was up and moving around, but it was kind of like, walking with the left leg and holding on to things and kind of dragging my right leg along.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Aww. So how was postpartum overall and kind of coming back from that?
Nobody tells you about that 4th trimester.
And people can tell you, and you still won't be prepared.
Nope.
I definitely was not prepared for that at all. So I knew, there would be some stuff happening, but I didn't know to the extent of stuff happening. It was happening a lot. I actually had to go see my doctor a couple of times before my 6-week checkup, because there was way too much happening and way too much going on. And so we got to a point of where I had to go back to the hospital. They didn't keep me or anything like that, but I had to go back to the hospital just so that they could examine to make sure that everything was okay, because I was bleeding a lot for weeks. And it didn't even subside. You have a little break, and I was breastfeeding, and they're like, oh no, you're not going to have your period. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it looks like a period to me. But it was just a lot of blood. So they, were concerned that I was losing a lot of blood. And so went in for a checkup. Things seemed to be okay. They gave me some medicine. And I started seeing a physical therapist maybe in December for pelvic floor muscles. Like I had, was on a walk one day. So Dax, his dad, and myself, we were taking a walk. And it's just like a mile up the road, maybe a half a mile up the road and a half a mile back. And on the way back, we were walking fast. It was like I pulled something like in my groin area on the left side. And it was, again, that stabbing pain. It's a lot of pain. Barely make it back. Finally made it back, but then I couldn't make it up and down the stairs. And it was just, I was in a lot of pain and a lot of, I wasn't sure what was going on or what was happening.
Yeah.
And so I went back into the hospital just for a checkup, and they kept me for a couple of hours for observation and then sent me on my merry little way with some medicine. But I also was just kind of in this fog of like, no, I'm not having postpartum depression. I'm not having postpartum depression. I know what postpartum depression is. If I were having it, I would know. But I just felt like I'm laughing because of like, say this? One, autopilot. But I also just felt like I was feeding my baby all the time. If I wasn't feeding him, then I was pumping. And I was like, I feel like a heifer, like I feel like a cow because he's either latched or these devices are latched. And I'm just pumping and pumping and pumping, and I'm feeding and feeding and feeding. And I just felt like, what am I doing? I don't feel like I can move or go anywhere or do anything. And I didn't feel like I was contributing just to like our household, like responsibilities like in my relationship, just like all of these things. And of course, I'm away from work. And so I didn't have that. Like this was new. Everything was so new. And it felt like things were happening so fast, but they were moving so slowly, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like I just
completely.
couldn't figure it out. And there would be days that I'd wake up and be like, okay, I'm ready to start this day. And then quickly be like, oh, feels just like yesterday. You know, like it was like Groundhog Day to the every single day was the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And there will be, like, I need to take a shower in the morning and at night type of person. And there were days where I'd be like, I don't know the last time that I took a shower. I don't even know if I washed my face this morning. I don't know. But I felt like I was like living to keep the baby alive. Like I'm living for the baby. And I wasn't living for myself. And I worked so hard to just live for me. And it felt like that was like snatched away. And so I had to figure out how to balance that out. And I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning how to balance it. But I needed to get into a space that was more pleasant. And that was more, that just felt better overall, like better for myself, better for my kid, better for my partner. Because I just felt like I was autopilot. Like I said, I felt like at first I felt like a cow, like just feeding you and you're latching and this is my life. My partner's like, eat, you gotta eat. And so it's like I'm eating and I'm breastfeeding. I'm eating and it was just, there would be days where, I would take a shower and then I just find myself bawling in the shower because it's like, what is my life now? What is happening? I don't even know how to do this. This wasn't a part of the plan. Like that was something I would, that negative self-talk of this is not supposed to be my life. And yet here I am waking up in it every single day. And I talked to one of my closest friends about it and she was like, Brie, I know you don't want to admit it, but there's some postpartum there. I'm like, no, you will not label me with that. But there was. I mean, it was definitely happening. And whether I wanted to label it, call it that or not, it was definitely happening. And I had to figure out how to balance it out. So I was making sure that I was, starting to see my therapist again and making sure that I was at least that was another thing. It was really hard for me to get in and out of the house. So like, Brie baby, boom, grab my keys, my shoes, I'm out the door.
Mhm.
Baby, what the heck? Where's the stroller? I gotta make sure I have a bottle and a pacifier or
Diapers.
because it might get chilly and a diaper. And I'm like, I'm just taking a walk down the street.
Yeah.
Why do I have all this stuff?
Ditto.
That takes some getting used to. Oh, it's like all these things, like all of these, everything was completely different from what life was like before. And it was hard. Like, it was really hard to adjust to.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure it out, honestly, if I'm going to be truthful about it. Like, still trying to figure it out. And now that he's older, now his diaper bag looks different, right? So it's like, I don't want that bottle. Give me my sippy cup. I'm like, I don't want you to throw your stuff all over the backseat of my car either. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, those car seats are dirty very fast.
They're filthy fast.
Yeah. We have a kid car now.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, you don't bring a diaper bag or, like, you don't bring wipes or whatever. And then they take the biggest poop of their life.
Yeah.
That happens all the time for us.
All the time. And I'm like, every time I take all of this stuff, we don't use a thing. One time that I don't bring it, you need 100 things that would have been in the bag had I just picked it up.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, you can't win. You can't win.
No.
Just put a big L right there.
No. We have the diaper bag, and it still has like 3-month clothes in it. And I'm like digging around, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, he definitely grew out of these a long time ago. Wow.
Right. Oh my God.
They're only 18 months and 3 years now. Oh, man. So how are you feeling with his, like, 1-year birthday approaching?
Ambivalent. On one hand, no, I'm joking. You know, like, there are moments where I'm like, wow, he's going to be a year old. And I love, like, watching him grow, and I love seeing him change. And like, I love being a witness to all of the new things that he's learning. And like, you know, I feel like I'm like his parent. We are his guides of like helping him uncover, discover things about the world. You know, so like, that's a bird. What kind of bird? It's a rabbit. You know, like helping him. This is water, and just like really helping him understand the world around him.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, it's like, it's not my little baby anymore. You know, those silly iPhones, like they show you those memories. I'm sure maybe every phone does it. They show you the memories of like on this day a year ago or 6 months ago on this day. And I'm like, oh, he was so tiny. Like one of the other days, it was like one of his pictures coming home, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he grew out of that car seat in 3 months. Like he was too long to fit in it anymore. So he had to move up to like the toddler seat, of course, like sitting in it as an infant, but still,
Yeah.
like he only used his little pumpkin seat, his little carrier for not even 3 months. So he's grown. I can't even believe it's been 10 months because he's grown so fast, and it's gone by so fast, and yet so slow.
It's wild how that happens.
It's so great. It is wild. It really is. Like, yeah, he's changed so much. And he's so inquisitive, and he's so adventurous, and like he likes to lunge off of things. So like he's sitting on the couch, he wants to jump off of it. He just learned how to crawl, but he prefers to stand and like inch around things and try to walk around. So while I'm excited and looking forward to his first birthday, I can still wait those 2 months for it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just, he still will be my baby, but he's just growing. He's growing. And I don't remember which friend that I was talking to, but like, you know, like I know that he's growing and that he's changing, and I definitely want to like remember all of this and just I want to hold on to him and preserve all of these moments. And I want to be able to celebrate like his accomplishments and his independence and watching him feed himself and learning how to like hold a fork or a spoon. Like all of those things, all of these things are just so, yeah, they're wonderful. And I love that, like, I work from home, so I get to be a part of his everyday. Like, I tell people all the time, my nanny probably thinks I'm a creeper because I'm always like, what's happening? What are y'all doing? Oh, hey, I'm off my call. I sit with you all for a little bit. She's probably like, why am I here? But I just like, he brings me so much joy. Like I can't even put it into words. Like he brings me so much joy. He does. And I just like, I love watching him grow. I love watching him grow.
That's sweet.
I love your outlook on that. But there's something to be said about you too. You're almost a year. You're almost a year into motherhood. You should be celebrated too.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a stiff drink. I still haven't. I don't think I've had a drink. Oh, that's not true. I did have one. I was like, whoa. I should probably never do that again. Yeah, I'll definitely celebrate. Definitely will celebrate. I've come a long way. Like I've come a long way of like, okay, that's happening to like, whoa, I'm in it and this is great. And yeah, some of my friends were like, you'll come around, and I'm like, I probably never will. I'm like, what does that say about me as a person?
But you came around.
I did come around. Let the record stand that I did come around. Finally.
I feel like it's like it's hard because you feel bad about like missing your old life. But it's like it's okay to like mourn what you miss or that old life that you had.
Yeah.
And still look forward to what's to come.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's some grief.
That is some grief there.
Yeah.
I was holding on to a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how people don't have it. I still have it. I'm still like, man, I just miss like waking up and like laying in bed and going to like watch TV. I miss it.
My little alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. every morning. Every morning. Now, we've gotten to a place of where he'll just kind of chill out for a little bit. Not very long, but he's working on it. He'll chill out it before he's like, hey!
That's nice.
Yeah.
And you should be awake too.
That's how my life was until like literally last week. Like Wes all of a sudden decided to sleep until 7, and he's been sleeping until 7 for the past week and a half.
That's nice.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
I don't. But I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids have always been good sleepers, but Arthur wakes up now and he'll play in his room, sometimes quietly and sometimes not. But now we're like, what time is he waking up? Like he might be waking up at like 5 in the morning and we just don't even know. And he's just playing in there. And until we hear him, that's when we wake up. But I'm like, oh, okay.
Arthur's having the time of his life.
Yeah, seriously.
Dreams. He loves them.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, we'll go in and there'll be a whole complete train track set up all around his room. We're like, oh my God, what time did you get up?
Yeah, we've been up. We just heard you and didn't come out. So do you think your counseling style or like therapy or you as a counselor has changed since becoming a mom?
I do. I think that this experience has changed me in a lot of ways. I've always worked with mothers, right? The mothers that I have worked with have experience with their child dying or their partner dying. their spouse dying, or, you know, maybe a parent, and so not that I ever tried to connect with them as a mother, because I don't, you know, I didn't have that experience, but I was able to connect in other ways and able to hold the space for them. And, you know, work with people who've experienced death. And the death has impacted their lives in such a way that they are looking for extra support. They need that extra support. And that's something that scares me sometimes, of like, I do so well at holding, to my little horn, I do well at holding the space for others when they're like processing their grief or going through their grief along their journey. And I also think about like, you know, my kid is a brown boy. He's a Black boy. And what that means in this world, in the society that we live in. And that's scary to me. Like, it's scary to me. And I find myself trying to balance between wanting to keep him really close and protect him and not let him experience society. Like, and, you know, I oscillate between that and wanting to like open my arms wide and letting him experience this world. But I know how this world is going to treat him, right? And I know how people are going to respond to him. And, you know, he's a big kid and he's already like the size of like a 2-year-old. And so at what point, you know, I think about this all the time, at what point does my cute, cuddly little baby in the eyes of society go to being a grown Black man, right? For some kiddos, it's 7. For some kiddos, it's 12 or 13. How old will my kid be when people start to experience him differently? Yeah. And that to me is really, really scary. And so I feel like every single day I have to like check myself, because I need to make sure that he knows that, you know, like if I'm comfortable and his dad is comfortable and we are comfortable in the spaces that we're in, that he feels comfortable in the spaces that he's in. You know, they pick up on all of that. And I just want want him to be afraid. And also like I have to check myself to make sure that I'm not instilling that fear in him in different spaces and around different people. And so like, how do you balance that? So it has definitely changed me as a therapist. I feel like I've always been empathetic. I've always been caring and understanding and able to hold that space for people. And now I feel like I'm so much better at that because there are a lot of things that I feel like I get now as a parent that I probably didn't get before, that went right over my head. Like maybe somebody said something in a session and I supported them in the best way that I knew how. But now with this experience, I feel like that I can connect in other ways and support them on a deeper level. So hopefully it has enhanced my counseling skills. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But from my point of view, it feels like it has. Yeah. But I think about that all the time, right? And I used to watch the news all the time when I first started counseling and was like, ooh, can't do that. Too many things happening every single day. You know, like people are being killed. And because we live in St. Louis and because I'm one of the only, not the only African-American female that specializes in grief, but one of the only, ones, like I get a lot of people and they're looking for someone that they can relate to. They're looking for someone that looks like them. And I want to hear their story from them first. I want KSDK Channel 5 to tell me their story. I don't want Fox to tell me their story or CNN to tell me their story. I really want to be able to hear their story first from them. So I really shield myself from the news. My partner watches the news all day, every day, especially when he was working from home during COVID. And I was like, I can't.
Oh, no. No.
I'd rather just sit outside and, like, look off into the distance or whatever. he's changed. Now that he's back at work, in the office, he'll watch news in the morning, he'll watch news at night. But it's like that daytime where I'm not experiencing the news. So that's been really good for me too.
Oh man.
Yeah, that can be a lot.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody watches the news that much.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Like it's the same thing on each station.
Yeah.
Just a different perspective. So
Yeah.
it depends on what you believe, and you watch that station or this station, but it's the exact same story. I don't understand this flipping back and forth. I don't understand it.
Oh, no.
I couldn't handle that.
Brie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and just your perspective and everything.
Thank you so much.
It was so wonderful.
Talk your ear off. I've talked for a lot.
I could still hear another hour. I'm good.
So much for giving me the space to share. I feel like a lot of things I haven't shared. So I appreciate this space.
All right. Well, we can find Brie at Brie BRIE _chatsgrief if you are ever interested in kind of looking more into that.
You can follow Natalie and I on Instagram. We'll have the links in our show notes. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review or a rating on Apple or Spotify or whatever you're listening to, just to help us get into more ears. Mm-hmm. And if you have a birth story to share, just send us an email or a DM and we will have you on.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much again, Brie, and we will see you next episode.
Thank you.